For many years, academic study focused heavily on language, ideas, and human consciousness. We learned how words create meaning and how our minds interpret the world. But eventually, this focus on abstract ideas can become tiring. In his essay, Think Theory, Bill Brown tells a story from Bayet's novel, The Biographer's Tale. A graduate student, exhausted by complicated theories from thinkers like Lacan, looks up at a dirty window and thinks, I must have things. He wants something real and concrete, not more ideas. This desire to connect with the physical world has led to a major shift in how we study history, art, and literature. Today, you can find entire books written about pencils, zippers, bananas, and toilets. We want to understand the material world around us. However, Think Theory asks a challenging question. Can we simply enjoy physical objects as simple comforts, or do they create intellectual problems of their own? To understand Think Theory, you first need to grasp its most important distinction, the difference between an object and a thing. In everyday language, we use these words interchangeably, but in theory, they represent completely different relationships with the material world. An object is something we look through. It is a tool or possession that works smoothly in our daily lives. When you look at a clean glass window, you don't really notice the window itself. You look through it to see what's outside. The window is doing its job quietly. It's transparent and obedient to your needs. That is an object at work. We use objects as reliable tools to get through our routines. A thing is something we run into. We notice the thingness of an object when it stops working for us. Imagine your car breaking down in the middle of a busy intersection, or your drill bit snapping while you are working on a project. In those moments of breakdown, the item loses its invisibility. It stops being a smooth extension of your will. Instead, it suddenly asserts its physical presence with force. It becomes heavy, stubborn, and uncooperative. It's no longer just a car or a drill, it has become a thing that blocks your way. As Brown explains, a thing is not actually a different kind of matter. It names a changed relationship between humans and the physical world. The story of objects turning into things is really about moments when our control over the material world suddenly fails. This shift from object to thing happens through what theorists call contingency or chance interruptions. Humans like to believe they are the masters of the universe, using tools to reshape reality. But our bodies are also physical objects. As Merleau-Ponty wrote, the body is a thing among things. You experience this reality when you accidentally cut your finger or paper, trip over a toy, or get hit on the head by a falling nut. These painful, unexpected moments happen outside your conscious awareness. They break through your plans and force you to recognize that you are caught up in a world of physical forces you cannot fully control. The material world has its own weight, its own laws, and its own power to interrupt human plans. If we look deeper into this object thing relationship, we notice an interesting timeline. Brown explains that thingness works through two main concepts, latency and excess. First, think of thingness as latency, a state of being not yet formed. Before clay becomes a coffee mug, or before wood becomes a chair, it exists as raw, shapeless physical matter. It is a thing waiting to be shaped into a recognizable object by human hands. Second, think of thingness as excess. What remains after something becomes an object. Even after a thing is turned into a useful object, it still carries extra physical properties that humans don't need. A wooden table is an object for holding books, but it also has wood grain patterns, atomic structures, and a biological history as a tree. These features go far beyond its basic function as furniture. This excess can also be psychological or emotional. Think about family heirlooms, religious statues, or a child's favorite teddy bear. Why does a child cry if you replace their ragged old teddy bear with an identical new one? Because that specific item has absorbed emotional meaning that cannot be explained by its physical properties alone. It has moved beyond being a mass produced consumer object and become a unique, powerful thing. Because things carry this latency and excess, they hover on the edge of what can be named or understood. They lie outside our normal systems of classification. Think of Dr. Seuss's characters, Thing 1 and Thing 2. They are called things precisely because they are chaotic, unpredictable, and impossible to classify using normal human categories. Things represent the stubborn part of reality that refuses to fit neatly into our intellectual boxes. Traditionally, scholars argued that humans are the only active players, while things are just passive items that humans fill with meaning. Apathurai's concept methodological fetishism turns this idea around. It says, let's temporarily ignore what humans say they mean. Instead, let's physically follow things as they move through space and time. By watching things in motion, how they are produced, traded, used, and thrown away, we get a much clearer picture of the human and social worlds around them. This approach changes our questions. Instead of asking, what do humans mean by this object? Thing theory asks, what actions do things perform? How do objects actually shape human lives? How do they organize our feelings, guide our habits, or threaten our political systems? Political movements have tried to use the power of things. In early 20th century Russia, after the revolution, avant-garde artists and writers tried to completely rethink the relationship between humans and the material world. They realized that capitalism turns objects into commodities that separate us from each other. Their solution was radical. In a socialist society, things should not be passive property. Instead, humans should become more thing like, and physical objects should be treated as co workers in building society. Artist Rodchenko famously said, our things in our hands must be equals, comrades. They imagined a world where objects actively participated in rebuilding society. We can also see the dark side of material politics. Fascist Italy promoted aluminium as a nationalistic metal, showing how raw materials can be used for state propaganda. History proves that we cannot separate human life from the physical objects that surround us. Think theory reminds us that we have spent too much time celebrating human brilliance while ignoring the powerful influence of the object world. It invites us to slow down and notice the secret life of items around us. The next time your computer crashes, your umbrella breaks in a storm, or you find an old dusty photograph in an attic, remember you are no longer dealing with a simple obedient object. You have stepped across the boundary into the wild, unpredictable, and fascinating world of things. Thank you.